are watching 4GQ TV.
Hey, this is Carlo at 4GQTV here with a very special interview. We've had Courtney Lin on before. She's amazing, does a lot of great work, and back to catch up with us. Courtney, how you been?
I've been great. How about you?
Pretty good. Can't complain. It's always fun talking to you. You have a lot of energy. You're always excited about your project, so it's really fun to talk to you about these things.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I slept in today, so I have more energy. I'm also drinking this smoothie. It's so good. So it's a good morning. It's a good morning so far.
Nice. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I always forget that you're like 3 hours behind. And
Yes.
so what has been keeping you busy? Any projects that you could talk about?
Let's see. I have the memory of a goldfish, so I'm like, gotta dig through the archives. Let's see, stuff that I can talk about. I guess in the an anime. Most recently, I was in. People are going to destroy me for not being able to pronounce the name because I always forget. Um, Mashly Magic season two.
Oh,
I think it's
nice.
Mashley, Mashle. So I've been working on that this year with Bing Zoom, and that's been really fun because I voice a character named Neri, and he's like a boy always on the edge of a panic attack, which is very relatable for me. And I've been working on that. A couple live action dubs. Most recently, Marry My Husband, which is on Amazon Prime. I love this one because the character I voice, she has like a almost like a split personality, like the personality she shows to the world and then her true personality. So she kind of bounces back and forth depending on if she thinks people are listening or watching or not, and sort of when she's by herself, and she's quite evil.
Oh,
um,
nice.
so she was super super fun to voice. And then Goodbye Earth, I think that's on Netflix. A Korean show about the end of the world coming. So it's, not quite post apocalyptic. The end of the world hasn't happened yet, but it's all about sort of the preparations that people do as resources are running out, and they have this impending doom coming. And I voice a character named Ina, and she's great because she's very kind, but she's also like a military commander. So it was sort of finding that line between, like, showing she's kind but also remaining tough and commanding and having lots of power and presence. Especially, she's also like a very small woman. She's like kind of skin on the skinny side, and so this small woman is put in charge of a lot of people, and people really look to her for guidance and to know what to do, and she really holds her own. In that situation. In the video game world, it was just announced I'm in the new solo leveling video game, so maybe you've seen the anime, but there's
Congratulations. That's
thank
really
you.
popular right now.
Yes, so Nam Chae Young is who I voice. Again, I think that's how you pronounce her name. In that video game, I haven't actually played it, but I heard, like you said, I heard it's really fun. Um, so that's cool, especially just being a part of that universe. The anime is amazing, so I was like, "Oh, cool! There's a video game." I didn't even know what it was when I auditioned for it. Everything is under a code name.
Yes, that is true. Yeah. I started looking at some of these postings online just out of curiosity to see how they're done. And there's so many
Hmm.
code names I could never even put two and two together. It's like,
Yeah,
wonder what this could be.
yeah. No idea. I have no idea what anything is. Um, I guess since the last time I saw you, because it's been a while, but a lot of people know I'm in Honkai Star Rail as Hua Hua. She's a cute little bean, also high anxiety on her end. Um, and I've actually started doing conventions just in the
Yes.
last 6 months. Yeah.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, thank you. Mostly for Huahua. She's, I guess, the most popular draw for conventions, but they also came out with a Funko Pop for Draculaura. So I have a Funko Pop character now, which is cool. I'm like, yes,
That is
bring on the
awesome.
Funkos, bring on the Funkos. Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I get a lot of things wrong too. Like I forget names and mix series up. Like I get confused between Genshin Impact and Honkai's Star Rail.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
happens. So Dracula is Monster High, right?
Hmm.
We just went to a Monster High convention in St. Petersburg, Florida.
I
One of
didn't even
the
know.
I know, well, one of the creators of Monster High was there, one of the original designers,
Oh,
and
cool.
so it was pretty cool. So when you said Draculaura, I was thinking about it because most of the cosplay at that convention was all
Mhm.
Draculaura. Everybody loves Draculaura.
Yeah, she's very popular. I know. I guess I do they have that all the time? I'll have to ask my agent. See, maybe I can do it next year.
In St. Pete, I think it was this past year. It was like every year he changes the theme. So
Oh,
for
okay,
St. Pete
okay.
Comic Con, the theme was Monster High.
Oh, so cool.
His next one is going to be Genshin Impact.
Okay, amazing, amazing. Yeah, I voiced like a ton of minor characters in Genshin. Um, your shopkeepers and quest givers and random children running down the street.
Hey, that's very important though because that makes the game immersive. Without that, it's like you just stare at a
Right.
shopkeeper and you just see text
I
and
know they're
like,
just like no voice. They're just yeah, you just see the text at the bottom. Um, Thelma the Unicorn on that just came out on Netflix. It's a animated feature. I did looping on that movie, so I voice a bunch of small children, and my favorite is a horse manure fly,
oh, awesome.
a sassy one at that. Kind of a bully, to be honest. But that's another reason why that just came out, I think, last week. Yeah.
See, now because you mentioned, I'm gonna have to watch it because you're in it. Now I gotta look for this fly. Like
Yeah, well, there's a lots of flies. I'm one of the more menacing ones.
nice.
Yeah.
Now that we are in 2024, I see that I don't remember. I think your home studio looks like more developed now than last time. Like I think it's. Have you made changes to it?
I just put more LEDs in it. Yeah. It's basically the same. I moved since the last time we talked. So, I you know, sort of this window, you can't see it. This window here. It used to be on this side. So when I moved, I actually had to call the company that assembled the booth for me, and they came out and they disassembled it and they just sort of flipped around the doors because now where I live, my window's on that side. So I wanted my booth window to also be on this side so I could get some natural light.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
I said awesome probably like 20 times already. But
Okay, I say nice 100,000 times a day, so I'm always like nice.
no, but it really looks good and it looks like a place like, if things are too loud, you could just go in there and hang out.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm lucky cuz where I live now, like I have an office. I'm actually before this was in my living room slash kitchen. So, um, if someone wanted to cook themselves a meal, they couldn't if I had work. But now that I have like my booth in my own isolated room, there's much more freedom for everyone else to do what they need to outside, and then I can also have like my quiet space in here.
So, conventions,
Mhm.
any upcoming ones that you planned?
Yes, actually. I am going to Miami in a couple weeks, the weekend of the 14th. Is that in like 3 weeks ish? For at the University of Miami, they're doing, I don't know what it's called. I don't know what it's called, but it's at the University of Miami in Florida, in the weekend of June 14th, June 15th, and then the weekend after that, I'll be in Watsonville for Nerdville, that convention, and I'll be there just I think Saturday. No, maybe it's on Sunday. It's either Saturday or Sunday that weekend is the convention, and that's all I have planned for this year. I don't do a ton right now. Um, I'm excited because next year, I have some characters coming out that I think will be like a big appeal for conventions. But usually my work weeks are so packed that if I don't have a weekend to rest, I'll like get sick. And, conventions are always on a weekend, so I have to be pretty choosy about like which ones I do and make sure that I have time to breathe between work and doing conventions. But I really love conventions solely for the fact that like I get to meet people who, you know, really enjoy the content that I got to participate in. Because I know it means a lot, and even for myself, I can think of shows that I grew up with or shows that I love, and it's always so cool, like going to these events and getting to meet the people who worked on it. So it's been a really great way to connect with fans and friends and other people who work in the industry.
Absolutely. It's one thing about conventions that I've loved covering the last few years is that when I go to them, and I may know a few of the celebrity guests, like the voice actors or the actors, but then
Hmm.
you meet some of the people behind the scenes, like the cinematographers, the
Oh yeah.
animators, and it's just really cool to like talk to people and learn about what drives their passion, you know?
Totally. Totally, totally. And I don't know. Cuz like you said, I don't know. I feel like especially voice acting can be very glorified, right? Always people the front facing side of things. And voice acting isn't even totally front facing, but the side that people see more, they get a lot of the credit, a lot of the fan noise, but like you said, the people who work, the artists, the designers, the cinematographers, like people who do lighting, like everyone equally helps contribute to this thing that people love. And it's like you said, yeah, their jobs are so important. It's cool to meet them too, because without them, what I do wouldn't be possible.
Yeah. But the one thing too is that like one thing I love about the idea of voice acting is that it brings life to projects too at the same time. And you're
Hmm.
right. I mean, like without animators, producers, writers, there wouldn't be an opportunity for voice actors to do the job. But when you take a project and you could take something so simple, I mean, it could look great, but if it's not immersive, I mean,
Hmm.
gamers won't enjoy it as much, or people that are
Hmm.
watching something, if it's just all words on screen and there's no voices, it's not as entertaining. So
Yeah,
you guys do a really tough job as well. And uh, I heard a crazy story that I'm going to share with you.
sure.
So I met Wally Wingert, called him Gary a lot of times, but he used to do the voice on Jay Leno. Tonight, Jay, whatever. I forget
Hmm.
how he said it, but he did it. And then he's been in a lot of stuff like Batman, DC,
Hmm.
everything. And one thing he brought up was he said, as a voice actor, when you get those roles that you have to scream or you have to use
Hmm.
like the weird chambers of your voice, he says you want to do that on a Friday so you have the weekend to recover. Is that true?
Oh my God. And it's funny that you mentioned that. The answer is yes. But it's funny that you mentioned that because I actually had a really big scare with that this year. Um, I um, I did a I did a project where my character did a lot of screaming, and she's not only was she screaming a lot, but she did like performative screaming. Like she would scream to be dramatic so people would feel bad for her. So like every time the smallest thing would happen, she would just lose her mind. And I had to do so much screaming for this project, and this was on a Thursday that I did this, okay? And afterwards I like felt okay, but that night I remember I didn't sleep very well. And then Friday came along and I had to get ready to go to a convention. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I haven't had any time to rest. And the following week, I booked two characters and atmospheric on a big video game. Lots of combat, lots of shouting, all in a different dialect. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do this convention and then I have to come back to this video game. And then the week after that, I booked another video game where this character has like a very clean sounding, pristine, higher pitched voice. And so I was like, so I just did a bunch of screaming. I'm gonna go to a convention all weekend, not get any rest, do a bunch of screaming for another week, and then the following week I have to be okay to do a very clear, pristine, high-pitched voice. And I was so scared. And then in the middle of all that, I got acute laryngitis because I
Oh,
hadn't been resting. and I sounded like a no joke, like a sick mouse. Like I was like, ah, like my voice was totally shot, and I was freaking out. I was like steaming every day, so much chi, vocal rest. Like I was like communicating with my husband with like hand signals and like text messages because like I was so scared. And I like, needless all that to say, I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson. I was like, but this is also the reason why I was like, I have to be really careful about like, my sessions and doing conventions. Like I know people who do conventions all the time, which is great, more power to them. I know for me, I can't do one every weekend. Like it just wouldn't work with my work schedule, and I don't want to do a convention and then not be able to work the following week because I didn't take the time to rest. But yes, if I have a screaming session now, it's always, most times voiceover, the max is like 4 hours usually for a session. Certain sessions they have to be less than that, but the max is 4 hours for like any genre of voiceover, unless you're doing an audiobook and you're recording that on your own time, but it's like 4 hours is the window. For me now, I'm like 2 or 3 hours max, like hard boundaries, preferably at the end of the day, because some of these studios have us starting at 7:30 in the morning. Um, at 7:30 in the morning, if I scream my brains out, I can't work for the rest of the day. And then I have to be really choosy about, which projects, right? Because, like, doing a screamy thing on a union project, I'm like, well, at least that contributes to my healthcare, versus like other projects, they're asking that of you and then they don't contribute to your healthcare. And it's like, I have to be careful with that. I don't want to make it so that 3 years from now I can't work. So, yeah, what Gary said, absolutely.
Yeah, and take care of that voice because we need you in video games. We need you in animation, so don't lose it
Yep.
because yours is very unique. I've heard that from the past interview when I interviewed you before. A lot of people were like, "Oh, Courtney Lin, she's got a great voice, a great voice acting." So yeah, don't lose it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I think that in the realm of voice acting right now, especially after post COVID and everything, I think there was a lot of people just trying to take jobs, union versus non-union,
Mhm.
and some voice actors are that I've met personally are really confused.
Mhm.
Especially here in Florida because Florida is not a big union state. It's mostly like a lot
Is
of
it a
non.
right is it a right to work state?
It is.
Okay.
So there's a lot of non-union commercial work and stuff.
Right.
So I had a voice actress ask me, what what would you say, like how would somebody in a right to work state even build up credits to get into a union project?
Sure. Well, right now there's a lot of flexibility with remote work, you know. You can be anywhere and work on a union job. That being said, most union jobs, the major hubs are LA and New York. Those are the major hubs. There's a lot of stuff happening in Atlanta too. But most of the stuff is still in LA and New York, which are both union forward states, or not right to work states, however you want to put it. um, so to work on a union project, I mean, there's many ways to get into it. One is getting Taft-Hartley'd. So you work usually with an agency. Agents are sort of the gatekeepers with union projects, just because casting, they don't have time to audition everyone in the world. They just kind of go to the agencies that they know and have the agencies use their actors to audition it. So it is much easier to get an agent, an audition for a union project through an agent, but that's not always the case, right? There's always exceptions, but most of the time you have to be with an agent who has access to those union projects. And then you can ask, or usually the agent will tell you if they're willing to Taft-Hartley people into the project. So that means you are a non-union actor. You audition for a union show. They really like you. They give you what is called a Taft-Hartley. It's basically a piece of paperwork that the production company gives to you, and they write to SAG saying, "Hey, we really love Carlo. He is the only person that can play this role, so we're going to hire him." Okay, so that tells the union that you, as a non-union actor, are for lack of a better way of saying it, like good enough to join the union. Yeah, and I'm saying that sort of that's the feeling. That is not to say that non-union actors are not good enough. That is not to say that non-union actors are less than or worse than. That is not what I'm saying at all. It's just like the union, they're like, we have a standard, and so they make it hard to join. So a Taft-Hartley is one way to get into the union. So you get Taft-Hartley'd, you can do the union project. Once you've been Taft-Hartley'd, basically, you can join the union after. You don't have to, but you can. Now, if you book a second SAG project or union project, then you become what is called SAG must join, and they will not let you do another union project until you join the union. So joining the union is a commitment. Yeah, you can't really cherry pick, because if you're non-union, you get to your third union project, they just won't let you do the project unless you join. So you will have to join. But you know it's hard. It gets murky. I mean, I'm by no means an expert at all of this. Like, the people who know best are the people who work at SAG. They could give much better advice. But from my experience, and from what I know, yes, you can work on a union project, in a right to work state. You will just have to sort of jump through some hoops to get there.
That's good advice. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people talk about that anymore. And there was a lot of confusion with post COVID and union project, non union work. So that's a really good answer. Thank you for the in depth information. And hopefully it helps
Sure.
somebody listening to this that is like, oh, wow, now I know something. Um,
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, it's actually it's much more like there people have approached me with certain scenarios because like each scenario can be different, right? So it'll be like, oh, I live in a right to work state, but the union project is being done out of LA, but like based off of the paperwork, like where the location of where the project is being produced, like then sometimes right to work doesn't apply. Like there's all these weird situations that are gray areas. If that's your case, contact SAG and ask. You can call them, they'll answer. You can always ask.
yeah, that's good advice out there for I'll put some, if I find the links, I'll put them in the description below for everybody that watches this later.
Cool,
Uh,
cool.
and I saw that you are doing some classes now.
Hmm. Yeah, so my partner, Jennifer Sundell, she's one of my dear friends out here in LA, but we founded the School of Voiceover, um, which is basically, it's an e-course you can take online. It's a take at your own pace sort of course, that teaches you, like, honestly, like a whole comprehensive thing about like the voiceover industry. Um, it's great for beginners and people who are already working but looking to sort of expand their career. Because we start literally from the very, very basics and then go up through, the very advanced stuff. So, for example, all the way from what is voiceover, right? All the way to when should I open an LLC or an S corporation to like benefit the best on taxes? You know what I mean? Like, not that we let me clarify. We do not give financial advice, but we give you scenarios to think about, and the resources so that when you're at that place, you can make the best decision for yourself and for your business. So it's sort of like the whole gambit. But yeah, sort of like intro to voiceover. We talk about all the categories. We go into equipment, home studio. No, you do not need this to work in voiceover. This is extra. This is something that I have developed over time. But people, work from home out of their like closets, with clothes hanging. You can make a career doing that. And then we go into sort of like audition technique and performance, and then also bring people into the process of like what it's like from the audition to the callback to like the booking, session etiquette, what to expect in a session, editing tools. And then we also get into sort of like the business side of it, like how to self market, right? How to do a pitch, how to best stay connected with industry, where to find contacts, because like any other leg of entertainment, a lot of it can be who you know, right? So, like, what does that mean? What is networking? Why networking feels icky, and also why it doesn't have to be icky, stuff like that. So, really, the whole gambit. What did I forget? Oh, vocal health. We also go into sort of like the science behind how the voice works, how to best take care of yourself, and how to best have a long career as a voice actor, if it is something you want to do for a long period of time.
So that's a lot of great information that you guys are offering.
Whew, I know. I'm like, so, um, but yeah, and actually, what I could probably do, Carlo, is get you a discount code for you and all of your listeners.
Oh, nice.
If anyone's interested, I can get one for you. You can, like, I don't know, email it or post it out to anyone who listens to your stuff, just in case they'd want to check it out. But they can also follow us on Instagram at the School of Voiceover, just as it's spelled, all lowercase. And we're always posting like free tips and tidbits and content on there. And we have a newsletter we send out every week, sort of with like industry updates and things to think about. So there's a lot of free stuff as well, just for being a part of our community.
That's great. And I know you mentioned your partner's name, Jennifer Sunbell. Hopefully I said that correctly, because
Yes,
I get
yeah.
name wrongs all the time.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too.
but she's been in some pretty great projects as well.
Oh yeah, she's very very prolific. She's like, I feel like she's like my sister. We it's funny, we audition against each other a lot. But we're also very different, like the types of projects we book. Like I book more of one type and she usually books more of the other type, but there's a lot of overlap, and oftentimes we're up for the same role. We get put on a veil for the same thing, and it's really cool when one of us books it, you know? But yeah, she's a phenomenal actor. She works more than like anyone else I know, and she's just also overall wonderful human being.
You know, that's the tough thing about voice acting is everybody that's a voice actor, that's a working voice actor, puts in a lot of work because there's always auditions that you have to send out. And you might not always
Hmm.
get them. So you might send out like 100 auditions in a week and you might get one callback that says, "Hey, can you do a second audition or something?"
Yeah.
I'm not sure as you get more into the field, maybe it's less and less, but I think for a lot of people starting out there, that's something I don't want them to be discouraged about. And maybe your class helps with that too, like talk to them and teaches them those aspects. But uh, it's one of the biggest things I heard recently is that it's a business of no's.
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like it's all about how you look at it, right? Like it's a business. Like a lot of people, they see a business of no's, or it's like it's all about like how to get rejected, you know. But I don't know. I feel like if you swim too far down that path, the outlook can become very dark, you know. Um, which is why like like, and I say, it's the journey. Like I don't know. I before I had success in voiceover, like I had been pursuing it pretty hard for like 5.5 years with very, very little results. And I was doing everything you're supposed to do, right? I was taking the classes and trying to connect with people and always on my training and working on my dialects and accents and watching what was out there that's current. Like I was doing everything right. But there's so much of this that you cannot control. So then it becomes about what you can control, which is like, working on your technique and your training, building your community. Like community is so, 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 so important. And there's different ways to find communities. I talk about this in our course as well. Um, and becoming the biggest competitor with yourself. Knowing that if you listen to an older audition or an old piece of copy you recorded and you come back to it 6 months later, a year later, and you do the same copy, then you listen back to what you did and you're like, oh wow, look how far I've come. Right? Look how far I've come. And then you build your connections in your community, and you never know where people end up. Like one of my favorite examples is I used to intern at Millennium Films, and I was just an intern. I answered phone calls, and I became really, really great friends with someone who worked in like he was like the office boy, he did the mail and stuff, but he actually worked there, and he was the only friend I had in that company. And like fast forward, it's been like, I don't know, 10 years since that. And he is like, you know, president of development. Like, yeah, I don't know his official title, but he's like boo 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 boo, and you just never know like where your friends are going to end up, and it's so cool to like watch people do different things. One of my other great friends like became the spokesperson of a brand, and I got to watch his career blow up that way. And you take every little win that you can, because the win isn't just booking the job. Like the win is like, taking a class with a new casting director and getting a, wow, that was a really great read. Like I haven't heard someone do that before. Like that's a win, like they've listened to that copy 100,000 times by the time you performed it for them. Like that's a win. Making like a video, if you're into social media. Yeah, you don't have to be, but if you're into social media, like making a video of doing impressions and like it gets a lot of views, like that's a win. Like there's so many other ways to count wins. Making a fan in the room, I think that's the biggest thing. Like I've auditioned for so many countless things where producers approached me after and went, Courtney, you were the best in the room. We really wanted to hire you. We hired a celebrity instead, but we really loved what you did. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I didn't get the job. I was beat out by, I don't know, a Chinese idol, or like whatever it is, like totally out of control. But it's just like I made a fan, and you never know when people are gonna like bring you back for other things or whatever. So the job is not always the win. The job is not always the rejection, right? There's so many other things you can use to bolster yourself and take those as wins instead.
A lot of great advice there, I think. Um, And the biggest thing that I love to see is that when I go to conventions and I see voice actors, I love to see how the fans react. I'm sure you get that now, but when
Mhm.
I go to conventions, I see a lot of like younger fans, like preteens or teenagers, and they're coming up and you're like, "Wow, I love your work!" And it's just so cool just to see the conversation and like they get so excited, and it's just great to see that.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. It is, and I'm always so honored and flattered, and I don't know. Sometimes I'm a little awkward because I'm not used to that. I'm just not used to it. People are like, "Oh my gosh, I love you." I'm like, "Thank you." Like I don't know what else to say. Thank you. um yeah, it's cool, and it's cool to see that it means so much, and I get to participate in other people's like happiness. That means a lot to me.
And inspiring a future generation of possible voice actors as well.
Totally. Definitely, definitely.
Well, Courtney, I wanna ask you the icebreaker question. I don't think I asked you this last time. It's something that we started doing the last 2 years.
Mhm.
So, pizza, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
I will never voluntarily put pineapple on my pizza, but if you gave me pizza with pineapple on it, I would eat it. I'm very indifferent. it's it's just another
Okay.
topping.
We've had two very unique answers so far out of the whole
Okay.
history of the last 2 years, okay? And
Okay.
both are from voice actors, and you may know
Hmm.
them. I don't know if you know Wally, but Wally Wingert, he's from the Midwest. Any
Mhm.
ideas that you can guess what his favorite topping might be?
From the Midwest? I don't know, sausage?
Sauerkraut.
Interesting. I didn't know that was a Midwest thing.
He said it wasn't, but it's just that in the little town that he grew up in, it was
Oh.
a predominantly German immigration,
That makes a
and
lot of sense.
the pizza place there loves to put sauerkraut on pizza.
I mean, I get it, because it's like putting like pickles on pizza or something. It's just acidity, right? And I guess, yeah, I could get behind that. I would eat that. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to try it for
I would
sure.
totally try that. Yeah.
And then the second most unique answer that I've heard was from Joe. I'm gonna butcher your last name if you ever listen to this. Joe Gadet.
Uh huh.
Okay, he's from Boston, but his answer it doesn't make sense for Boston. Any ideas what it could be?
I don't know. Is it not clam chowder on pizza?
Nope. It is. Spicy brown mustard with mayonnaise because he likes to have cheeseburger pizzas now, and he adds a full
Huh.
topping. That I guess that might have led him to the cheeseburger pizza idea, but he puts lettuce,
Okay.
tomato, like the whole.
Okay. I've had cheeseburger pizza. I had it in Chicago and it was amazing. Um, but I'm not a huge mustard fan. Like with certain things, I like a little bit of mustard on certain things, but I'm not a huge mustard fan, so I don't know if I'd want mustard on my pizza. Maybe Thousand Island. I prefer like if I eat a cheeseburger, I like Thousand Island on it. So I feel
Yeah.
like if that was on my pizza, I'd be like, sure. I would try it. Honestly, I would try most things. I'm not a picky eater. I don't know if I'll like it. I don't know if I'd order it again, but like I'll try it. Yeah.
So, real quick, King, I know you mentioned the voiceover school, but can you tell
Hmm.
people where they can find you online?
Sure. So to make it easy on all of the socials, I'm at the Courtney Lin, my name. Courtney with a C. Lin is Lin, the Taiwanese spelling, not the southern spelling.
When
But yeah, at the Courtney Lin on everything, Twitter, Instagram, um, TikTok, all of it.
when I looked for our old emails, I spelled your last name wrong twice. I put Linn and then I put
Yep, that's okay.
Lynn.
It happens all the time.